Welcome back. Time for our Capitol Report this morning with Pat McGuigan of CapitolBeatOK.com. And Pat, let's talk presidential politics. Obviously, talk about the debate from this past Tuesday night. As anticipated, the president came out swinging a little bit more. This debate was a little bit livelier than the first one. What do you see as the high points, and who do you think won?
I think the high point for Romney was his distillation. There was about a 3 or 4 minute period where he distilled the economic case against Barak Obama, and frankly, he was very effective. That was very strong stuff. On the flip side, the president was much better, as I predicted. Of course, I wasn't the only one that predicted that. He was much better, he was more engaged, he was more effective, and for Pat McGuigan, his compassion on immigration was appealing. I'm one of those soft on immigration, perhaps, conservatives, and I respected what he said, and that was appealing. And moving to the broader picture, my analogy is if the first one was a technical knockout, and again, none of this stuff's original, but these are my thoughts right now. If the first one was a technical knockout for Romney, the second one was really close. And you know, if you use a boxing analogy of 3 or 5 judges, I might have saw it as 3-2 for Romney on points in terms of the punches, but even on style. And so I score it slightly in Romney's favor. Americans as a whole, I think the CNN poll was 46-39 for Obama in terms of that debate.
Yeah.
So in a way, a draw, and that's not bad for Romney, but it was better for the president.
We're now down to the final days of the campaign. What are you watching for as we get closer to the election?
I appreciate a chance to talk about that. You know, October surprise is always a possibility, something that either just happens in the world or that the president and his people, you know, press on in the final days that people decide to call the October surprise. The president will be aggressive in this last debate come Monday night. Romney needs to emphasize, and I think his advertising will, over and over and over again in slightly different ways each time, that economic argument about the actual record of the president. I think the narrative on Libya is kind of interesting because the table got set with that, and it's one of those things where, you know, there's debate about what the president said and when, and if he made one reference to terror the next day, it gets a little convoluted. But on the other hand, you have to look at it and say, well, there was either incompetence in the ranks. I'm not talking about the line people that were obviously responding. As we know now, they were seeing the video from Libya in real time. But the institutional response above them was either incompetent or somebody's lying. And the more that gets talked about, I don't think it's necessarily a positive thing for the Obama administration. And I'm trying not to be too harsh about that, because when you're dealing with those kinds of circumstances, especially the line people, I think they deserve some understanding. So playing that out is going to be significant. Finally, the battleground states, what both sides do with their advertising. You know, this whole thing could come down like 1980 did to the Panhandle of Florida. Right. In this case, it may come down to 3, 4, 5 counties in southern Ohio at the end of the day because of the Electoral College.
Could be that close.
So stay tuned. Closing the deal. That's the stage of the campaign we're in now.
All right. In about a minute we have left, let's talk a little state politics. And state question 762, one of 6 state questions we'll be voting on come November. This has generated more controversy perhaps than expected. What is 762 and what's the controversy surrounding it?
Well, the District Attorney's Council came out against it, which personally, I think, analytically, I think is unfortunate because they were consulted and were involved in the crafting of this, and the legislature passed overwhelmingly in both houses of the legislature, and the idea is to take the governor out of the day-to-day process of deciding parole for nonviolent offenders. Now, there's some technical issues involved, and the governor has reversed her position. She was for this 2 years ago and didn't say she was against it when it cleared the legislature, and now she's come out against it. Now, just to wrap up, Josh Brecheen, a strong conservative leader in the Senate, and of course Speaker Steele, have reiterated their support. At the end of the day, the things that are concerning about the parole process, more transparency, disclosure of what's going to be covered in the parole board meetings, use of technology to assess risk, violent versus nonviolent, and a clearer definition of violent versus nonviolent, all of that can be done with or without the state question. So the argument remains pretty strong to vote yes and get this off the governor's plate and save millions of dollars that can be devoted to other things in the system.
You can read more about these and other topics at CapitolBeatOK.com. For Pat McGuigan, I'm Alex Cameron. Have a great Saturday.